Hello, Excellence family. It's Danny Barnes, Director of Agent Relations, and I'm here with Paul Sardone. He's our real estate attorney with Excellence Title. And thank you for joining Title Tuesday. How you doing, Paul?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Just to cover briefly, Paul's going to be covering contingency time periods on financing, inspections, and title defects. So a lot of good information this morning. Thanks for everybody attending. And I'll turn it over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Danny. One of the things I want to talk about is, in the contingency period, is we could talk about this all day. The point of this is a brief introduction. If anybody has any questions, you're doing a contract and you need anything, you can always reach out to us. But I want to focus in on common mistakes that are made and then I get the call basically because there's an issue and now buyer's deposit is at risk, and that's what we want to avoid. So there's the three contingencies basically in the contract, three things that need to happen to get to closing. The first is the inspection period. And I'm referring to mostly the FAR bar as is when we're talking about the contracts. There's other forms some of you may use. We can go over those individually, but the majority of contracts being used is the FAR bar as is. So in the FAR bar as is, you have your inspection period. During that period, whatever amount of days that is, you can cancel. The buyer can cancel for any reason whatsoever. There doesn't need to be any damage. There doesn't need to be an inspection showing problems or anything like that. So that is the point where the buyer has the most power, the most leverage in the deal.
Typically, that's 15 days.
Typically, it's 15 days of default. I'm seeing less and less, especially down in South Florida, as inventory shrinks. Sellers know that they're kind of held hostage during this period where they can walk away for any reason. So I'm seeing 7-day, 10-day more common. The important thing to remember with this period is don't ask for credits or don't ask on day 16 if you had 15 days because you've lost the right to do that. Also make sure that especially now with COVID concerns, that your inspections are being scheduled and you have time to receive a report and time to review within this contingency. You can't do the inspection on day 14 and hope to get it on day 15 and be rushing the inspector and don't have time to review it and put something together to the seller. So if you need more days, you can ask for them. You can always extend this period. That's something I tell people. If they give you a 5-day window and you don't have inspections back yet, you can make a decision whether you want to extend that, or if not, you're moving on to the next contingency, which would be the financing. All right. So
hey, real quick. When I started in the business, it used to be standard pre-printed in the contract 10 days, but at some point in time they moved it to 15 days. But agents can always reduce that, like you said, especially
default if that's blank, right?
Especially in a seller's market. But just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, you very rarely see 15 in the latest contracts that have gone in. It's mostly 10. The financing, the default is 30 days. It was 45 for a little while, and then the newest version, it's back to 30 days to obtain a loan commitment. So the biggest thing with that is make sure they're applying, they're getting the loan, you're keeping up with the progress of the loan. And if it's a few days before and the loan officer is telling you they're not going to have a commitment for you, ask for an extension. Don't ask for it at 4:59 on the last day, because you might not be able to reach somebody, and then you're putting the buyer's deposit at risk. So if you need an extension on the financing period, I would ask for it at least 3 or 4 days before periods, and the communication with your loan officers is key. The other thing is a common mistake. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is if your buyer's running out of time on the financing contingency and you do an addendum and you extend the closing date for 15 days, you haven't extended the financing provision. So let's say your closing is supposed to be August 1st and your financing period ends July 25th. Just throw dates out there. and you say, hey, we're not going to get the loan. Okay. And you do an addendum that says closing date is extended to August 15th. You haven't extended their contingency. So if on August 10th the loan gets denied, your buyer is going to lose their deposit. So it's important to specify that you're extending the financing contingency, not just the closing date. You're doing both things. So that's the biggest issue I see with the financing contingency. Also, make sure the contract gives you 3 days default to apply. So make sure they're applying within those 3 days. With the loan officer nowadays, it's usually done online, but that they have a formal application in within those 3 days, or you could waive the financing contingency altogether. And last is the title. That's the part that's least used, least commonly understood, but that only applies when there are title defects. So let's say your inspections were fine, your financing is good, but there's a problem on title. There's some kind of judgment or something against the seller that came up that was unexpected. There's an automatic cure period in the contract in the FAR bars, as it gives the seller up to 30 days additional to resolve this. So if you're a listing agent, problems come up on title, the buyer can't just walk away. They have to give the seller the chance to fix these, remedy these title concerns. So that's the title part of it. It provides an automatic extension. So a lot of times buyer agents are worried about how does this title look, because we need to close, and I'm worried we're gonna lose our deposit. That the buyer is protected because it's not their fault if there's issues with the title. So it's the seller's responsibility. There's a 30-day window. If it's not resolved within those 30 days, then the parties can agree up to another 60 days. As long as there's mutual agreement, then the first 30 days doesn't require mutual agreement. It's automatically granted to the seller. The next phases of, if it's something that takes a little longer to resolve, like tracking down heirs to sign deeds, things like that, those things are going to require mutual consent to get the extension done. Yeah. So I mean, those are the main. I mean, obviously that's going over it, just briefly, and the main points to remember. But the big thing is keep track of your days and make very specific addendums when you are extending these periods, because otherwise that's the biggest issues. And I get it all the time, calls on deals I'm not even involved in. My buyer's going to lose their deposit. What can I do? When I look at the contract, it's clear that they breached. So at that point, if you're dealing with it after the fact, it becomes very difficult. And we end up having to negotiate where they lose a part of the deposit and get part back. And that's a win in that scenario. So you don't ever want to be in that position. I don't want any of the excellence agents to be in that position. So just so they can be informed that if their clients give them a hard time, that's what we're there for. I have been there to speak to many buyers who don't understand why they need the extension, or they think their loan officer told them, no, everything's fine, don't worry, and then it's fine until it's not fine, and then there's a problem at the last minute, and you don't have that protection provided by the contract, and there could be a significant amount of money at risk.
Right. I believe in Realty Back Office, we can also input the different times and dates for reminders for the agent.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't miss.
This is a great tool that you guys have. That's great. Yeah, because it keeps it's a lot of things to remember, especially if you're working on multiple deals as an agent. So that's a great tool that you guys have that can prevent a lot of these problems. But you get the reminder. You just got to do something about it, and that's
right.
where you contact us or whoever's working on the deal and get it extended.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All righty. Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, that's it for today. I mean, there's more detail to go into on the financing provision especially, but, I'll save that for another class. I know you want to keep these brief, but again, that's what we're here for, is to not only close title deals and help you guys facilitate your business, but to keep your clients protected and keep their deposit protected. And even when sometimes deals don't work out, financing doesn't work out, something goes on with the inspection, we can be involved in that scenario too. And it's another backup that your agents have.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to Title Tuesday. And everybody have a great rest of your week together moving forward.
Thank you.
Take care.